I'm not your typical politician. I don't know how else to say that. If it's a good idea, I'm going to work with it. And I battle. I mean, I'll battle with anybody. I battle with my own team. But I listen. And I think the most important thing is for anybody, and I think I got that from sales, you have to listen first.
Mayor Robert Palmieri here on another round. Wes, what do you, I mean...
This is exciting.
I just wish I knew, maybe I don't know, but knowing that the job's coming to an end for a new, better future, not knowing what that may is, we'll hope to unpack that. But maybe that's a great part to start. Knowing the term's coming to the end, you put in a solid 12 years. Everybody seemed very happy with your work, and we'll get to term limits and stuff like that. But with the 12th term coming to an end, what's the feeling? What's the going into the end of the year here and going into 2024?
It's rewarding, but it's very difficult because we put a lot into this. We packed, if we go back 12 years, it was a city that was bankrupt. It was a city that had no economic development. It was downgraded by all the agencies, and quite frankly, the only positive thing that people would talk about the City of Utica was the Boilermaker. That was our lifeline. That was it. So, I mean, we really had to put together a strong team, and we had to come up with, some hard decisions. And the hard decisions were obviously we had to have layoffs, which is always the most difficult decision I've ever had to make. And then you had to raise taxes. But you had to have a structure. You had to have a plan, and we had to work the plan. And we worked the plan, and, it was a great team that we put together. Everyone worked extremely hard with the same mission, same passion, from the police to the fire to codes to DPW to parks, everyone. We talk, we're a family. You come to work, you work hard, you play hard, and like every family, you kind of little screwy every once in a while, but you get things done.
Sure.
And if you look at our results at this point, 13 of the commercial buildings that the city owned when I took office are sold. The Bossert sites, which was vacant for 25 years, is now, he's got 2 beautiful buildings on there, housing employees, and it makes it look so much more vibrant in the West Utica area. You look at the hospital, you look at the Nexus Center, the harbor, which was talked about for, 60 years. And a lot of mayors put a lot of time and effort into it. I'm not going to take all the credit. But if you go down there today, you could see that it's there. And we'll be making an announcement relatively soon, as we have with Rob Esche, with another developer, and that will be a destination. I always try to put the city, it took us a while to come out with Utica Starts With You, trying to market our city. One thing when we sat down and restructured, what makes us different than anybody else? And it's no different than the Sentinel. Our service has to be better than anybody else's. And that's the only thing we have to offer. Whether it be police, fire, codes, DPW, plowing, whatever it may be, we have to get back to the residents. And that's what we tried to accomplish. We've done quality of life sweeps. Everyone said, "Well, it'll be a one and done." The mayor will go out there, he'll get his photo op, and he looks good, and we'll never see him again. Well, you bring back hope to the people, and that's what we try to accomplish. And it's not just in some neighborhoods; it's all neighborhoods, because everyone's concerns are a little bit different. Whether you go in North Utica, it may be flooding. It may be ATVs. You go into Cornhill, it may be a vacant home. Everyone is a little bit different, but in that specific area, that's the most important thing to them. So you address it. So we ended up doing roughly 353 sweeps and over, 1,200 miles.
Oh, wow.
So, and what you're
That'd be
doing
an athlete too.
I know.
You're bringing out all your department heads. So, you get the ivory tower out there. A lot of the residents never come to City Hall. And the only time they come is if there's a major problem. So you want to hear from them. And there's a lot of refugees out there, and you want to build those bridges. And I think this administration has done an outstanding job. My hat goes off to my team. My department heads have done an outstanding job. I can't say enough about them. It's morning, noon, and night. I'm a pain in the neck. They all know that. I'm pretty persistent. I drive the streets every single day. I go into hard-hit areas. I build up a rapport with them. and my department heads are no different. So it's been a wonderful experience. I don't know how else to say it, and I'm going to miss it.
Wow. I'd vote for you again.
Got
If
my
I
vote.
lived in Utica and you could run again. But
So
speaking of which,
are you
so-
saying if I was to expand my horizon at some point,
Yeah.
I got
let's
2 votes
go there.
already?
Let's
I
go
know.
there. Do you have any other plans? Any thoughts?
Yeah, what's next?
I will tell you at this point, I certainly am not going to retire. I've got a lot of gas in the engine. I'm still want to go 24 hours a day. And until that happens, I'm going to, wherever I go, I'm going to try to make an impact. I'm trying to continue the growth of the city, the region, however I can. And, I want to make sure that, we don't sit on our hands. And we're not, you got to keep on moving, just like here.
So
You
public
gotta-
sector or private sector? I mean, you stay in politics or see what happens?
There's going to be probably multiple opportunities, and I'm going to see what fits best.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's
then
fair.
move from that. Yep. So I don't know. I mean, I won't be having coffee at home. I won't be playing golf.
I wouldn't either. Hate that sport.
I'm not going to be going to the. I still be on the streets. I absolutely adore. I love talking to people, especially the people that really feel that no one cares about them. And that's one of the things that I thought was important with this administration. You talk about elected officials, and the only time I see you is when you're running for something. Other than that, we don't see you. Well, you've seen me every Wednesday for 12 years, and I'm on the streets every day if there's a problem. So, they can never say that they haven't seen me. I'm very accessible. I may be in your face. I'll be the first one to tell you. I don't back down from anything or anyone.
Sure.
But, it's the city of Utica is a great city. And, as I said, we got a little pin that says Utica starts with you, and then we use the app of Utica Proud, moving up. And then I also try to the best little city in America. Because what we have all the assets that a large city has. But one of the things a large city can never give you is that community feel, and that's what you get.
I love that. Yeah, it is true. I mean, it's AHL, anything from sports to
Eateries.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the
it's
Stanley and Munson.
Stanley and
There's a
Munson.
lot of
Yeah,
culture.
yes.
I mean, you
it's-
get all that stuff.
It's
Yep.
it's great. It's great. So obviously coming up at the end of the third term here, what's your feeling on term limits as you're basically feeling it and playing this out? Is it something you wish wasn't there, or is it something that
Is it a good thing? Like,
Is it
to
a
get
good
new
thing?
blood in there after a
Yeah.
while. Like, what do
Well,
we-
you know what?
It may change if you're like local level or national level too. I think my opinion kind of changes too. Local level versus the national level. I think I would be more in favor of term limits at a national level.
So
I
let
think
me
it
ask
might,
you this.
That might change for you.
So, any of you are sports enthusiasts?
Sure.
Okay. So when you have a winning team and your quarterback is leading you into successful seasons, do you change them? Because after 3 years, you want to change them? No.
Just for the sake of changing, right?
Okay.
Right.
When you have a CEO that is running a business and it's profitable and it's moving, do you change them?
I'm thinking he's against term limits.
Yeah, I'm going to go
No,
against it.
I'm really not. I'm just giving you both ends of
No,
the
you're right.
spectrum.
Right.
Sure.
Is,
Why
you know what?
penalize experience, right?
And you know what? I always leave it up to the voters to make a decision. And if you're not doing a good job, I think you're going to get voted out. I really do. Are there advantages, obviously, for some elected officials that have been out there for a while? They build up a war chest, and it's difficult for anybody to go against them. Yeah, there's pros and cons on both ends, and I think that's all part of life. It's pros and cons, but I'm very fortunate. I entered in for only 8 years, and I'd never thought in my entire life that I would be an elected official. I mean, when I ran for Common Council, my family was a blue collar. My dad worked at Rome Cable. My mother worked at Tri-State Laundry. We lived in a 2-family home that we rented. I grew up. I went to Blessed Sacrament. I went to Proctor. Never had any aspirations I coached. I was involved with a number of different things. I was a salesman. I traveled. And then someone came to me and says, why don't you get involved with, and I said, I can't. I'm not going to kiss anybody's butt. It is what it is. So they said, well, at least go talk to the party. So I went and I talked to them, and they said, well, we want you to vote the way we want you to vote. I said, well, if the Republicans have a good idea and it's going to be beneficial to my district, wouldn't that be the best? No. I said, but we want to move the city. I said, so, I mean, I'm I'm going to do what's best. I mean, I'll listen to you because if your features and benefits are positive, then that's going to be the right answer. But if they're not, that's going to be the wrong answer. And I guess that's what you want with an elected official, because once I'm elected, I work for everyone. Well, needless to say that Rob Palmieri was not the endorsed candidate. That fueled the intensity in me, the passion in me, who I am. And I ran in a primary, won the election, and served as a council person for 7 terms, 14 years, chaired the Public Safety Committee, was active all the way around, was majority leader, minority leader, and quite frankly, never thought I would ever been there that long because I'm not your typical politician. I don't know how else to say that. If it's a good idea, I'm going to work with it. And I battle. I mean, I'll battle with anybody. I battle with my own team. But I listen. And I think the most important thing is for anybody, and I think I got that from sales, you have to listen first.
That's good. I think speaking of sports analogies there, a little bit of me, though, if I'm termed out at 12 years, it's kind of like getting your number retired, you know? Like, you're so good. Are we going to see this sport jacket hanging at City Hall? Retired? Mayor Palmieri? That's pretty cool. There's got to be a little bit of being proud of that, right?
Well, listen, am I proud? I am absolutely over the moon again, my staff. I can't say enough. You know, when you're on a team, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, it's not one individual that makes a winning team. And anybody who thinks it takes one person is absolutely out of their mind, because you could have the best quarterback. If they don't have the protection, you're not going to win. You could be the best point guard in the world. If you don't have the supporting cast and getting the rebounds and playing defense, it's not going to happen. If you don't have a great pitcher and a great catcher you're not going to have a good team. So a coach looks good, but it's the coach that motivates and brings the enthusiasm to a team. Maybe that's what I bring to a team. Maybe they believe in me, and maybe I'm no different than anybody else. As I tell everybody, I put on my pants no differently than anybody else. This morning, I was dealing with a homeless person, bringing him over to the county because he's struggling. And I knew the gentleman many, many years ago. I coached his daughter, and unfortunately, he's in a bad place, and I'm working with him. I'll do that. I'll do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that having the strong personality is just one of those.
Oh,
things.
you think I have a strong personality?
I think you got to be at the top. Being at the top can be. Sure. I think that what I'm trying to say is, like, being at the top can be somewhat lonely. You got to have a good head on your shoulders. Got to be able to hold your cool when you're supposed to be cool, and you got to be able to delegate when it makes sense to delegate. And it kind of goes to the team, right? I mean, all eyes are on you though, because they don't know the team that well, right? You're still representing them. There's still the communication between you and the leader. I think we saw in Rome how some of that you have to have a good personality, outgoing personality, but you also have to be good in business. It's just such a, and I think between Utica and Rome, the mayors are actually quite powerful. It's a true power position. When you go to other areas, it's more like the council. It's more like 5 people running it. But I think it's to have that key person at the top. It means a lot in our Utica Rome area.
Yeah, and I would say, and to your point about term limits, like, just because you're an incumbent doesn't guarantee anything.
Absolutely not.
Which we saw in Rome.
100%.
It doesn't, sometimes it almost, I'll say it works against you, but a lot of people like to think the grass is greener a lot. And so it's not a shoo-in that you would win every time.
No,
you have to perform, right?
We struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, there was a lot of people that were against me. And I'm thankful of the people. I mean, it was the residents that overcome a lot of the anti-Rob Palmieris that are out there. You know, it's like anything else. I mean, you're always going to have haters out there. And that's fine. Criticism's fine. You don't ignore it. You understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, for anyone to have somebody saying they don't like you and they're putting this on social media, look at what it is first. Is there any truth to it? Is there anything you could do better? Because you want to do better. I mean, so criticism's okay. I mean, anybody who's afraid of criticism shouldn't be in this position. It shouldn't be any position in a leader position. You should be doing something manually each and every day that you know what you're doing.
And I love the street walks. I think that's great, because a lot of people that may have an issue might not even know how to relay that. Right? They don't know how to get to City Hall. They don't know who they need to communicate with. And I think if you're out and vulnerable like that, I think it's you're opening up your
Very
arms.
accessible.
Yeah, you're just making, I love that.
Listen, you know what was nice about it? As they saw us walking over the several years, all of a sudden you'd be outside raking, cleaning up, and so forth. If there was a coach problems, what they didn't understand, I had the coach commissioner with me. If it was something to do with the parks, I had Dave Short with me, the Chiefs with me. It just made it much more palatable. Kids had the ability to look at the fire engine, ring the horn, whatever it may be. You broke down that atmosphere of, you know what, it's the arm of the law that's coming out there. It wasn't. You know, if you had high grass or debris or whatever, absolutely. I'm going to tell you, we'll do it once. Don't let us come back again because we're going to cite you.
Sure.
And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build that neighborhood. And our neighborhoods have been very strong. I mean, I'm very proud of our residents. You know, that your home is your castle. I don't care where you live. If you rent, you own, where it may be, your home is your castle. You should be able to walk freely in that area just like everyone else does.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, when I think of Utica in the past dozen years, and a bit of the rebirth of Utica, I think of the two Robs, you and Esche. Like, how is that relationship and how's that gone?
It's outstanding. I mean, Rob is a visionary, and you got to be thankful for someone along those lines because with his world knowledge and his class being all over Europe and all over and being a all-star in NHL and having all the connections that he has, he could have picked up his bags and gone any place. He went with his roots, and I guess we could just see where his vision is. And I'll never forget, talking about different things with him, and everything that we're talking about is coming to fruition at this point. And in going back when he was talking about the AHL, I mean, it wasn't as easy as people would have thought. Initially, Utica College was adamantly against it. I brought him into my conference room and sat with Todd Hutton and Esche and Gary and the whole staff and tried to work it out. Because if you remember, the AHL moved away.
Right.
And really, who saved the hockey was Utica, now University, but Utica College. Gary Heaton did an absolutely great job rebuilding that. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have another AHL coming in here and taking it away from us. No, that's not going to happen. But you sit people in the room. And you look at, what's the benefit? How could we make this happen? How could we strengthen both programs? And we did it. And now you're seeing Utica University as, class act of college throughout. And then you got the AHL, New Jersey Devils that are in here. And again, Esche is a visionary. He's got the people that believe in him, which is very important. But he also makes it very profitable for people. So that
helps, yeah. If you ever have a casual conversation with Esche, within 3 minutes, he's got this great vision of a new project. And this guy never stops. But not only does he have these wild visions, he follows through on them, and with everyone's help. But he really pulls the trigger. A lot of people don't have the courage to do that.
And I think that's huge for the area because a lot of people, when they first start hearing a major project, like it'll never happen, and then you get all these naysayers, and
100%
gunshot,
100%,
yeah. And then once you start seeing a project, well, but it's the momentum thing. We saw it here with the business park. I mean, no way, or even when we have like Wolf Speed and stuff like those, that will never happen.
Yeah,
it's
you've heard those doubters.
Well, listen, when we talked about developing our downtown, and we talked about bringing in developers, whether it be Mike Pez or whomever it may be.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll never do that. You'll never sell that building. You'll never sell that building. And you know what? It was the visionary of the Esches and Mike Pezzanellis that really that landmark building was scheduled for demolition. That was going to be a surface parking, and in that you had people that believed in what I was selling, and you could be the best salesman in the world. If people don't get return on the investment, it never happens.
Yep.
And when you're selling something, as you all know, it's got to be profitable for that individual. It's got to be how it's going to help him, not how it's going to help me. Because I can tell you all the rose and sugar that you want, but at the end of the day, they're putting their dollars and cents into it. And I guess we see the growth of our great city. I mean, it's we're number 2 is the fastest growing city in New York State. Only Buffalo's ahead of us. We were in the USA. I think it was number 3. And USA is small cities. I love to be number 1. And you look at the development of our city. I mean, it's the engine's roaring at this point. We just got to keep it going. And people, and again, it's sometimes it's people believing, as you were talking about, believing in. It's not like, oh yeah, here we go. That'll never happen. It's that negative. we're not positive. And that's what I said from the beginning.
Yep.
It was changing that image, remarketing our city. And I go back to the Boilermaker. That was the only positive thing that I really, it was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And I would use that as my life of saying, you know what, look, if the Boilermaker could be successful, damn it, so could we.
Sure.
So you have a new mayor coming into your office soon. What's your biggest advice for Mike?
I think is to be a leader. You're not going to please everybody. I mean, you're going to make decisions that someone's not going to agree with. Don't wrap your head around social media. Your friends today may not be your friends tomorrow, but do what's best for the residents of the city of Utica. Do it with your heart. Don't do it to please a group. Fall in love with the city, and then people will fall in love with you.
Ooh, that was a good last line.
Yeah, I like that last
Yeah,
line.
I like that.
I think the thicker skin when you get into a role like that is huge.
Yeah.
Because then it starts a snowball effect when you start rattling off or responding to every little thing. And I saw that initially with some of the candidates, and I'm not going to make names, but like when they start dealing with the media more, they start really, oh, hey, this is about me. And then they come attacking and whatever. And I feel like it's a big first step when you haven't been at the top and you're the eyes and you're the representing the city. Having those bigger shoulders, understanding how to respond in personality is going to win over. You got to be good at it.
It's difficult. That was the first thing. As I said, I've got 5 adult children and 13 grandchildren, and don't go after my father. I just said, just let it go. We got to let it go. And I don't do any social media. Marcus will tell me what we have and what we don't have. And again, if there's criticism, let's critique the criticism.
Yeah.
And then move on from there. And that's it. Don't.
Yeah.
You learn in sales. There are some sales you'll never make. And if you keep on putting time and energy into that sale that you're not going to make, you lose focus on where you need to be. And I have to be focused and positive all the time. So, you know what? It's like a baseball player, a football player, an artist. If someone takes you out of your element, then your element's gone.
Yep.
I think this is a good time for the first Marcus intervention. Right?
Here we go.
Here we
There's
go.
some things I'll say that he won't say. I don't know how to adjust this. I'll just.
No, you're good. We got you. We got you.
But the reason why is because what the mayor is saying is so crucial, and I think for people that don't work in that building or in that office every day, they don't realize how important it is. Because one of the things that you notice when you're there is most people agree on what the right thing to do is. There's very few issues that we have that we don't know how to solve. Either we don't have the money, or we don't have the partners, or we solve it. But when you're in that room, you hear stuff like, yeah, but we're going to get killed if we do this. Or the public won't understand it, or they won't accept it. And sort of the mayor early on squashed all that talk. We don't talk about what the reaction's going to be. It's if we all agree, there's 15 of us in this room with a ton of experience. Mm-hmm. If we all agree with that this is the right thing to do, you just have to do it. Because, I mean, when you're dealing with the city, these things sound trivial and funny, but sometimes there's a difference between life and death, between people's future. And that's the thing I appreciate most about working for the mayor, is we're not allowed to talk about popularity, politics, things like that. And with too many politicians that I've worked for, that I've seen, and that I've been there, too much a part of the calculus is how it's going to impact them politically. And in Utica, that could be a death spiral, because there is so much negativity, resistance to change, because of all the years of disappointment. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you have to do things that are unpopular that you know are going to happen, and without that aspect, you won't get anything done in this town. I can tell you stories where that's happened. So I just wanted to chime in from somebody that worked for him, how that works in practice.
That's great input, because you get the right brains in the room, you make your best decision, then you go with it. And then in the next election, it'll work itself out if you do the right thing, right?
At the end
Don't
of the
fall in love
day,
with the short-term reactions.
Well, and this is the happy now syndrome, right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's tough to, a lot of people get into, well, I want that right away. But a lot of these major projects, they take a lot of timing, a lot of planning. You need the money. As much as we want to do things, you still have to be financially viable. You only can raise taxes so much because that affects the population. But, it's always this ebb and flow between, what are the major projects? A lot of the funding we've had in New York State has been a massive help. The COVID stuff and some of the fundings and, great opportunity. But those opportunities don't always come. And there's only so many projects you can pay for at one time.
In talking about that, I mean, when we sat down and we talked about ARPA,
yeah,
it was structurally, I mean, it was our whole team. It was all of our department heads. We looked at, what it could be used for. And we felt that, some of the neighborhoods, the money was going to be funneled to the neighborhoods. So there could be new either roofs or siding or windows or porches or whatever it may be. So we categorized that. We used it for the library. We used it for childcare. We went all over. And then again, as you talk about expenditures and expenses and revenues and expenditures, we looked at our parks. And one of the things we realized in our parks, being the third largest park system, is that during the COVID, a lot of people were obviously using our parks. But what they came back to us and says, you got a beautiful park, but there's not much to do here.
Right.
So we strategized. What were the people requesting? We put that down in black and white. We strategized a plan. And at the end of the day, what we're looking for is that these park systems are going to utilize expenditure so we have sustainability. Because to your point, you can't raise taxes all the time to offset your as you know, your wages are going up every single day. Yep. Your insurances, your pensions, they don't stay stagnant. They raise. And you can't raise the taxes all the time. The only way is we looked at our sales tax have been extremely robust. Again, $3 million last year. That's what we're looking to sustain our city, to continue to grow, to give us the infrastructure that we need, our police vehicles, our salaries, our firehouses, all the components that we need without dipping in all the time to the end user, which is the property taxes. So there was a main theme behind this mission, sustainability of our city. And we're hoping that we attract people from all over, from Rome, from Syracuse. The skate park is going to be a state-of-the-art skate park. The splash pad, the pickleball courts, the ice skating rink, all these things, disc golf, all these things, the Children's Museum, the zoo, the Robert Trent drones and the Valley View, all these things is to bring other people into our city for expendable money, so then that will continue to grow our city so we don't have to have it on the backs of our taxpayers each and every day. Is it a task? Yeah, it is. It's going to be a task because there'll be additional expenditures with that, which we've taken into consideration. Yep, you got to maintain what you have, and we'll probably have to have more police presence.
Yeah. You just named a lot of things that I can't pick up a Daily Sentinel here in the last 3 months without reading about the new things coming to Utica with the pickleball and the new clubhouse at Valley View. And I can list all these things. And all this is happening when you're kind of in your lame duck phase as you're going out. Is that just you going out with a bang, or things just lined up that way?
No,
or have you been freed up because?
No. I guess anybody who knows me, who's worked for me, it's pretty intense. I'm pretty passionate. Mm-hmm. I don't sleep at night. I just don't. It's just who I am. You could talk to Marcus. I'm very intense. I want things done. I want them done right. There's nothing that I ask them to do that I wouldn't do. When we're on the sweeps, and you'll see me with a chainsaw, you'll see me with a hedge clipper, cutting grass, picking up debris, garbage. That's who I am. So I'm very passionate. I love the city. I love the region. I love the people, and so I put my heart and soul into it.
Yeah, I think it was
second Marcus intervention.
All right, this is like little timeouts for Marcus.
Because he said, right. So there's things that the mayor won't say about himself that, I think are important because people understand. Compare how much money we have spent, the percentage of our money, to other municipalities, even around here. Like we're in Rome. How much money does Rome have remaining versus how much we have remaining? And there's three things that are important about that. The first one is it shows the diligence and your ability to spend money. It is hard to spend money properly. and to not get audited and to not and so that means there was a ton of people working really hard to make sure that we're getting these things done, including contractors, private sector, public sector, like everybody working together. That's an accomplishment. The second thing is we don't know what the future of that money is. Washington gives you money. They talk about clawing it back. If you don't spend the money, you could risk losing $10 million for your constituents in a city that has a $50 million budget.
And I think that's where I do think we can do better, because just talking with Jackie and learning some of the hurdles that they're going, it's not like this is just money you can spend anything on. You have a time period, you have restrictions on everything, and you have, like you said, you have the possibility of being audited and then lose money if you don't do it correctly. And I don't think that's. I think we can do a better job conveying them. Why aren't we doing this? Well, you can't. At least with this.
So what we did, if I can't, we jumped in. So we strategized, but we also brought an accounting firm in and a legal team other than ourselves to make sure everything we were doing was dotting our I's, crossing our T's.
Yeah.
And the third thing that I want to say, though, that the mayor made clear from the beginning that I think is really important is when you get money to provide relief for your residents, you have a moral imperative to spend that money to provide relief for your residents. And I think when a lot of governments got the money, they looked inward first. Well, how do we help our building that I live in or the departments that I see every day without trying to impact people's lives that don't live in City Hall or at a fire station or at a police station. Sure. And they didn't spend it because sometimes they wanted to appear like they're listening to people without having to make any difficult decisions. And when you don't do that, you shortchange somebody. If we don't put a playground up, kids don't play. It's so the mayor made that clear from the beginning is we're going to spend this money in a way that impacts our residents, and we're going to make sure that our residents get 100% of the benefits of this money, and Washington doesn't take it back or it doesn't get diluted in politics. So I think that was important.
Yeah, I love them. I love the camera here, Marcus. I mean, the input we actually get is very good, and I the reason why I love that is because I hear that from a lot of your employees. I think you convey that you had their back 100% of the time, and I think you earn the trust, especially with all these transitions going on in Central New York, second biggest growing city, right? That comes with someone at the top allowing people to do their jobs, allowing them to do them, and then you have your back. I think that alone is like I think the number one thing of any organization is they know you have your back, so they're not afraid to stand up for you or get the job done. But so I think that was a great job. Switching gear, 5 children and 13 grandchildren.
Quite prolific.
I mean,
it's outstanding.
I was going to say,
you've been so busy all these. I mean, I don't mean in any other funny way, but I mean, busy. You're juggling all those kids and all these gigs, and you're coaching and you're helping out, and you're common council as you're growing up and doing all this.
Yeah,
how'd you do it all?
I didn't go to Florida. I didn't play golf. I didn't go out to eat. Mm-hmm. I lived, breathed my family and my community. I mean, and I loved it. I think as a father, there's a lot of guys that I talk to who are friends with me, and they say, I wish I spent a little bit more time with my kids instead of going on the golf or going to Carolina or Florida. I didn't do that. I mean, I enjoyed coaching my kids. I enjoyed being with them. We never went on lavish vacations, but it's the little things in life that you remember. I know what I can remember as a young kid, growing up with my mother and father, and I want my kids to have that, and I want my grandchildren. My bucket list was to have a place, I've just bought a place on Verona Beach for my grandchildren. Something that they could build memories. I'm a true family man. I love family. I love sitting with them, talking, seeing them making mistakes. I love coaching with them, and it's not spending enough time going to all the games because there's games every single night and day. It's almost impossible. I'm learning this quickly
with my children. Yes,
you're right. But I wouldn't change it for all the Team China. It was I had 4 girls and 1 boy, and it's been outstanding. We're close. They all live in here. They're all professionals. My grandkids are all playing sports, dancing, art, whatever it may be, and they're growing. And I want to be part of their life as they grow.
That's great.
That's great. And I have a question mark here on my notes. Place in Old Forge? Are you up in Old Forge?
No, I sold it.
You did sell it,
Unfortunately,
okay.
I loved it. I mean, yeah, my heart was, I was up there for about 25, 30 years. It was a small place, and it just, they changed ownerships of the place. I owned the building, not the land, and it got to the point where my kids said, "No, we're not coming up." And it got very confrontational, and I just said, that's a place where you look at the good Lord and you breathe the mountains and you look around and you have a good time. So we sold it, and it's at a time when everything was going skyrocketing, and the last place I thought I would go was Verona Beach because I was never there. We bought a place up there, and it's beautiful because it's only 30, 35 minutes away. My kids could play.
Even closer.
They could play the proper water, the basketball, and still come up, and baseball. So it's a memory. I'm doing some work up there so they could come up there. This is their place, my bucket list. I hate to say this. If the day comes I go, I'm happier than a pig in shit.
So you have 1 month left. New Year's Eve, Bank of Utica. Do you get to host again with Barry?
I'll be there with Barry. I don't know how long I'll be there. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be difficult, to be honest. It'll be very difficult.
Yeah.
One thing you don't know, I could be in your face and take your heart out, but I'm very emotional.
Yeah, that'll be.
So it'll be tough.
It's his birthday. December 31st is his birthday.
I'll be 29, I think.
So
Why'd everyone laugh before you even finished that number? That was terrible.
So his family is always there, Banky. So it's become, as much as it's become a city tradition, it's become a tradition.
That is
for
going
the
to be a
Palmieris.
day for you.
So going back with
my
Barry
gosh.
and Tom Stennett, this is going back 8 years before they even I used to see it on TV, dropping the ball. And I said to Barry and Tom, we got you're here. They were doing all the construction. And I stoned the living hell out of them. I mean, every single year, every time I saw them, to the point where they said, we've had enough, we'll give it a shot. They've done absolutely a great job. It is such, you look at the weather, it's inclement weather, and no one's going to show up. It becomes a happening. It's just a great event. It's the best of the Utica area. People coming from all over. They muscle in. Some people dressed up, some people not. Young little kids. The restaurants are busy. It's a great reminiscence of what Utica's all about. So, yeah, Bank of Utica has done an outstanding job. Very proud of them. Very glad to work with them. And again, they do it for all the right reasons, for public safety, our police and fire department, honoring them, and they should be honored.
It is great. I brought my family down last year and enjoyed it. I have 3 kids. Ellie just turned 3, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and we loved it. It was great. But it was, we're hardy folk around here, so the weather doesn't scare us. And I thought it was just a wonderful time.
Again, it's a happening. You get the goosebumps when you're down there. You're proud that that they put this on and they did a great job. And each and every year, Barry's looking for different ways to make it larger, bigger, and better. And he's done it. So hats off to the Bank of Utica, Tom and Barry.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to go this year. I have a 1.5 and a 3-year-old, so it's a little.
That's tough.
It's a tough
more
one,
cumbersome,
but maybe there can be a handoff to a babysitter at some point and enjoy that. But I love the downtown area there. I just love the vibe where it's come from. Working with Barry and Tom has been a great relationship for us in the Sentinel too. I love how dedicated they are. I mean, it's been fun. I mean, our growth in Utica has been welcoming. We needed a win. Being in the industry, it's tough, and to see the support of Utica and the greater Utica area and the surrounding area has been massive for us to keep us alive. So we appreciate
you got a good
the
product.
I appreciate that.
You got a good product. I mean, and that's something that I think is very important to everybody. Change sometimes is pain, and people are reluctant to change. But when you don't have that opportunity, then you have the change. Thank God there is a change. That you can have something that you can pick up and read, and have your cup of coffee or whatever it may be. And you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I'm proud that you're back in the city of Utica, and you have, you got a little base there also. So you're not just in Rome, you're in Utica also.
Yep. Any projects, and maybe there's some you can't talk about, but is there anything kind of that you've been hoping to see come to fruition as you hand off to the next mayor, or things that that you wish you were completed, or things you wish you got off the ground? But anything,
Well, I'm
anything
hoping-
cooking? Anything cooking?
I
Maybe
think
that's the way
before
to
I
put
leave,
it.
I probably will make a couple announcements.
Oh, All right.
So I think there's.
Hey, Thomas, write that down. We got to get.
There's a lot of
We don't have
things-
Thomas Cam over here.
There's a
but
lot of
we'll-
things in the canon, but going forward, there's a ton of challenges. How are all these things going to operate, work together? Infrastructure is always a challenge because they're so difficult. Our biggest challenge right now is like everybody, housing, opioids, homelessness. There's things in place to try to help deal with these things, but overall, you have to be excited about the future if you know what's going on in the city. There's never been a more optimistic time in my lifetime. I was born in the 80s and living through the 80s and 90s after GE left, after the base closed. That was kind of like the dark period in the history here. And you thought it would never get any better, and it is better. And that's a huge opportunity for the next mayor. Now, as a staffer, he might not want my advice, but you ask the mayor to give advice to the new mayor. One thing that I've learned working for this mayor that I think would be important for anybody that's going to take over a city, and we got 2 new mayors in Utica and Rome, so it would apply to both of them, right? It's nothing personal, is that people are surprised when they see the mayor and I in a meeting and how much we disagree. You figure your staffer sleeps around with you, and he's a yes man, but we argue more than I argue with anybody in my whole life, and it took us a while.
You really are a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but listen,
I did say that from a dysfunctional family.
Right,
but
right.
it actually is a real
You
thing
get more
that took a
done.
real toll on me professionally and personally, and him professionally and personally. Is that we're the same. We're both from Cornhill, and it comes with an outspokenness and a passion in that community of Utica, and it's both coming from a passionate place. And there's a lot of times where he probably should have fired me, right? Because you shouldn't talk to him.
Every bit. If you're not about to get fired, you're not doing your job.
Well,
You got to
shouldn't talk
challenge.
to him
That
in
seems
that
interesting
way
to hear, though. Yeah.
in that meeting, right?
Yeah.
And I've regretted it, and I've tried to do work on myself, but I can't help it. I am who I am, and it's the same thing with him, by the way. So I think one of the
Yeah,
advice
the
for
boss.
the
Can't
new
fire
mayor is
yourself,
there's a
can
lot
you?
of temptation when you're in that position to have everybody that's just going to say yes, sir. And because you're the leader, you're going to be accountable for every decision. So you want everybody to be on the same page with you. But you have to have people that aren't afraid to tell you when they think you're doing something wrong. You have to. It's vital because
The good thing is
you have to hear the other side of
I
it.
never did anything wrong.
But I can see the temptation. You know what I mean? You're leading something. It's easy to say, this is my vision. This is my name in that newspaper. This is me on the TV. You do what I say. But then you don't hear the other side of it because there's people that you don't see. When you're talking about how should a street be designed, are you talking about a person that's in a motorized wheelchair? Right? When you're talking about, I want to put this development in, do you know anybody in that neighborhood? Right? So people bring perspectives. And diversity brings and I don't mean cultural diversity. I mean economic diversity. I mean religious diversity. I mean gender diversity.
The
right?
expertise. You really want that number 2, 3, 4 to have a little bit different skill set than what you're good at.
Exactly.
You need that, and
You're only as good as who you surround yourself with.
absolutely.
And at the end of the day, you have. We said this. You have to listen. And that's what we've done. I mean, not every department head is. There's not. I don't think we have a yes person in our department. But sometimes, if I feel strong on something, I'm a salesman. I'm going to show you the features and benefits and my objective, and that should be enough. If it's not enough, then it's not a good sale.
Yeah.
So then I have to see what component do I bring out that someone else says you need to do, and we look at it. And I think that's why we've been successful. It's because we all don't have the answers, but we all have one thing in common. We want to drive the city in the best possible site that we can.
Sure.
And we all come together on this. I mean, from police to fire to codes to corporation council, engineering, economic development. I mean, it's just, and everybody knows kind of like what their place is. I'm the salesman of the city. I'm the one that has reached out to, from our national companies to our regional companies to our local companies. But the other guys that are in there put all the pieces together to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'll make the contact. I'll reach out, and then they'll do the other little things because that's what our niche is.
Yep.
With Marcus, he wears a lot of different hats. It's not just codes. I mean, he's he's got many, many traits that he's in there. Don't forget, he was my chief of staff for a while. And one of my weakest departments was codes, because it really didn't have a codes commissioner. It had somebody in there,
Right.
but not a code. So it had to be totally restructured. He's done an amazing job in there. It really over and above what I anticipated. And initially, he probably didn't think the reason why he was taking that position was for any other reasons other than not being the chief of staff. But that was my weakest department, to be quite frank. And he's done a great job with it. Really, I'm very proud of him, and I'm proud of the department, because people don't understand codes to the point. We don't have that magic wand. We could do what we could do, but then it goes to the judges. And unfortunately, the people don't understand that. Well, how come you're not doing nothing? Well, because it's in court, and
there's a process.
They put it off, and whatever it may be. And it's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for the codes enforcement officers that are going back there, because they know it's going to be a problem. But the judges rule the reign, and we don't, unfortunately. But he's been able to build a rapport with not only the landlords, with the builders, but I think also with his staff, and I think that's important.
I think that's on the transition. Again, going back to your team that you've built, obviously rock solid, very successful. How much of that goes back and forth between Mike coming in and working with building that next team, or how many changes?
How much contact has there been? Have you guys done a lot?
We've talked. I think unfortunately, Mike is going to make some. He's going to have to make some changes, because there's a lot of people who have retired and resigned prior to the ending of my term. So, Mike's going to have a budget director, engineering, purchasing. He's got to have 2 people in economic development. He's got to have somebody in HR. So his work is going to be cut out for him at this point. And I think he's starting to realize at this point it's a lot more. It's much more difficult hiring. There's not a reservoir of people that are chomping at the bit. We see that with Department of Public Works. We see that even with our fire department and our police department. The numbers of people taking the test are probably a quarter of what they used to be.
Yeah, the small city problem. Love living here, but when you need somebody, and it's
that are qualified,
right. And because those positions, you kind of hit the ground. You need expertise. You can't just come in green on a lot of those positions and expect to learn it on the job. Yep. There are obviously those options in City Hall, but not those. You kind of need to know what's going on.
Right. So I think Mike's challenge right now is not so much who's there, because the framework is strong.
Yeah,
it's a well-oiled machine.
Sure.
You just got to put these other parts into it that they're not there at this point, because we've been doing a lot with the components that are not there. Marcus has filled in. Our engineering department has really stepped up where they had to step up. My administrative aide has stepped up to help out with the HR and the medical. So everyone's doing a hell of a lot more than they're getting paid for at this point. And so it'll be a little bit refreshing when he's able to bring in, the different components that he's going to need to keep the ship going in the same direction.
I got one good final question, I feel like. Are you
Sure,
ready for
I'm
it?
ready.
Or do you have more?
I was just going to give him the floor eventually, but you.
Here's my
take it away.
last thought. Distant future, 20 years from now, you're at your new camp, or wherever life takes you. You're thinking back of your time as mayor of Utica. Maybe not necessarily an accomplishment, or maybe it could be, but is there something that's going to make you smile the most? Like, what is that thought, that one memory or a few memories that'll put a smile on your face as you're rocking on your chair?
I think we took a negative and made it a positive. I think the city is going to rock and roll. I think between the harbor and the hospital and the downtown Bag Square, along the parkway where the Children's Museum is, the ski area, the skating rink, the zoo, NIPA, Valley View, the splash pad, the skate park, the playground, and the slide, and all the amenities. It will be the best little city in America because we have great people that live there. We're warm, giving. We love our refugees. We love our immigrants. We love people. We're a very diverse community. So what am I going to look at? Maybe I'll look back and say, you know what? We brought this together. Our team made this to be one of the the cities that, quite frankly, throughout, and I keep on hearing it from some of our elected officials from the state level, people want to replicate what's going on in Utica. That in itself,
It's a nice compliment.
it's a great compliment right
is.
there.
Do you see another office? We kind of touched on it in the beginning. Is there any other political future that might be on the?
It was a definite maybe. I think that we
Yeah,
got
I was
out of them.
You know, it's-
I was giving it a shot.
I don't know what the good Lord's going to have in store for me.
And can you run again? What's in the bio?
No, in 4 years, if I wanted to run,
You
I
could. You could. I was
Sure.
just curious on how that
Yeah,
worked
but
over there.
you know, we'll see what's in the cards. As I said, I won't be sitting home.
Sure.
I'll be active, and
Good.
we'll see what plays out. I mean, I hope the city continues to grow. I hope the county continues to grow. I think there's a lot to be proud of in this region, but I also think there's a lot more to be done.
Sounds like a great
Wow,
place.
what a great way to wrap up.
I know. I love
You've done
it.
this before.
This is my first.
Well, I really thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming. It's a great conversation. Great. Had a great, amazing 12 years. Hope there's I can't wait to find out what that definitely maybe.
It sounds like there's no golf in his future, though. I think we had about 5 anti-golf
Basketball,
statements.
football, maybe softball.
You're at the turkey trot though. You're a little running maybe, or was that just a?
Yeah, very little. I did,
Okay.
I did the Boilermaker 4 times, and these legs are telling me at this point, like a turkey trot, forget it, pal.
That's all. Okay, game over. All right. Well, thanks.
It was a
again.
great memory.
There you go.
There you
Speaking
go.
of
There
memories,
you go.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.